Good evening, everyone. It's pleasure to be amongst the, I would say, the largest region of the largest accounting body of the world over here. And before we set the tone and have some slides and all, let me tell you the fantastic work being done by the regional council members, office bearer, aptly and ably led by dynamic and visionary chairman CA Ketan Sayya sir. So, because as someone mentioned over here, I'm in India since only 18 days and I'm supposed to travel back to Doha, I think within less than 12 hours. My flight back to Doha is 4 a.m. tomorrow. But within last 8 days, I've conducted 4 or 5 sessions on this topic. Recently, I was in South, in Ernakulam and Thrissur branches of SIRC of ICI. And there I heard great thing and great appreciation about WIRC and the team, the fantastic work which they are doing. And it's, so we ourselves sometime, if we appreciate our own team, it's like blowing our own trumpet. So the validation should come from others also, and I have been, receiving it. I am also from this region, by the way, but in Doha since 17 years or so. So thank you so much, very sagacious and visionary, ever-smiling chairman. I don't know how he manages time to lead the largest region. So kudos to you, sir, and thanks for opportunity. Pleasure to be amongst here. Ever-smiling, very vibrant, and very important role. Someone who is assuming secretary, CA Jinal Saulaji. I know your popularity and great work. Kudos to you. Thank you, CA Sanjay Nikam, sir, a very popular RCM, for warm introduction and presence. And also Mr. Furia sir, for presence on the dais, and all those who are present over here. As a protocol, I am also thankful to the vice chair, I think from Nasik, if I remember correctly, so Mr. Chandok, and of course treasurer from my own state, Gujarat, Fenil Baisha, Bishan Baisha, and all the RCMs and also. Thank you so much. So let's, over the 1.5 or 2 hours or so, let's discuss about the professional opportunities in Gulf countries. It's a great coincidence that we have a sponsors also here who is also from the Gulf countries. So I don't know, it's by design or by coincidence. So it's a great thing to have. So why this topic first of all? Okay, now some of you may think of it that because this year, as we know, I've been following WRC's activity, and some chairman sir has mentioned over here, Bhagyodaya has been great initiative, emphasis on the CAs, small and medium practitioners who are there. So great work being done by, oh, that's great. Thank you so much. આવે છે સ્લાઇડ आ रहा है नहीं आप वो जो स्लाइड चेंजर है ठीक है no problem. So I think thank you so much, but check I think I have to be careful in not to remove even little bit, or else not be audible, but no problem. So he wants basically me to be away from the dais. So that's not a bad idea at all. Okay, so anyway, so why this particular topic? First of all, because I was a chairman of Doha chapter of ICI, the oldest overseas chapter of ICI, established in 1981, the year in which I was born. So you know my age by now. Okay. Another thing is that I am based out of Doha, Qatar since 18 years, and the particular region has attracted a lot of interest amongst the chartered accountants in India about the professional opportunities, about the opportunities of job, about the outsourcing opportunities, about also the opportunities in the employment. So then I started talking on this topic. I was a speaker in Ahmedabad, Indore, in Niryat and Anand of this region, and then in northern India and southern India, apart from 7 or 8 overseas chapters also. So let's discuss it at any point of time, because let this be a dialogue. If you have any question, if you have any query, any point to make, any of your experience, which is even more important, please feel free to interrupt me, and we'll take it up. So this is the agenda. through which we'll dial upon over the next 1.5 to 2 hours. Introduction, key facts, what are the taxation scenario in these countries, economic landscape of these countries in Gulf Cooperation Council, outsourcing assignment, new avenues, what are the opportunities in the employment in which some of you might be interested, and brief touching on the skill set requirement, right? Always this is my standard slides. I've been speaker on various committees and various chapters and branches. I traveled to many countries. My gratitude to my Matushri, mother, because I am coming from outside India. Always it's good to pay gratitude to the Matrubhumi, which is India. And of course, sometimes we forget to pay gratitude to our Matri Sanstha, which is our alma mater, ICI. So there is no replacement, Furia sir, of either Matushri or Matrubhumi or Matri Sanstha. So this is my standard slides. So my salutation to them. Overseas expansion strategy. So let's set the tone of this, whole presentation, right? Why, first of all, we have to ask ourselves that why, first of all, how many of you are into practice? I can say 80%, 90%, 80, 90%. Okay. First thing we have to ask about where we want to expand ourselves, and immediate requirement is that we have to do the enough market research. If I ask some of you that where you want to expand your practice or client base, right? You will say probably Singapore, Dubai, Qatar, probably not in some of the African countries, right? What do we want in the countries in which we aspire to expand ourselves, right? We want a very strong and stable economy. We want very diversified sectoral allocation of the businesses to their GDP. We want very conducive market environment. And of course, we want prosperous clients. And in turn, we also want to make even more prosperous. That's the broad objective, or to add more value to their business, to create more values, right? That's why it's very important to conduct enough market research, first of all. Sometimes it pains me to see over there when I receive many queries that many of the CA don't do enough market research, unfortunately, or maybe they don't have that guidelines, to do the market research. They don't have much idea about the countries, but still they want to do, by way of their aspirations. Friends, it's very important to do enough market research about the country, about their economy, about the business landscape, about their GDP, correct? For example, we don't want to do probably have the clients, okay, in the country which is depending on one particular sector. There are countries in the world, if you see something like Mauritius, let's say, just as an example, okay, which is depending on tourism, exactly. So quite vulnerable to one particular sector, right? So if something happens to that sector, what will happen to our client? So I want to, give that flavor to all of you that always do enough market research about the local laws and regulation, which I think somewhere over mentioned here. What is the expansion model? Now this is another very critical areas, okay, about which many of the chartered accountants don't have the clarity. Do you want to open your own office under your name into these countries? Do you want to do some kind of retainership arrangement with some chartered accountants who are already there with them? Do you want to serve the expatriate or citizens who are based out of that country while you are sitting over here? Do you want to do or do you want to serve the people who are there to establish their business in India? Inbound investment, what we talk about. So what is your expansion model? And many of the chartered accountants, don't have that clarity. A lot of chartered accountants ask me, and they may be asking to senior people like you also, sir, kuch business de do, kuch clients de do, lead de do. They are not wrong. I empathize with them. But first is there should be absolute clarity about the expansion model, which I give the idea. Local regulation, of course, which we will touch upon little bit. Risk management, very important, because as chartered accountants, we are very hardworking lot, elite lot and ethical lot also. Sometimes we put our client interest above our own interest, We are so busy in mitigating and eliminating risk for our client that sometimes we fail to analyze our own firm's risk management. Very important to do that, right? Because the risk which you are running into while you are only in India are quite different if the risk you are exposed to when you are outside India. Okay. For example, any cost of non-compliance with any of the local laws, regulation, if it happens outside India, not only the financial penalties will be much higher, but also you will land yourselves in the bigger trouble also, right? And finally, the availability of talent. Here in Chartered Accountants in India, we always occupy the prime positions, right? Because we are the regulator, standard setter, and all these things. Outside India, all the chartered accountants face enormous competition also, on which I have one slide. But what about talent? See, we talk about the whole digital transformation. We talk about the technology, for example, right? Earlier, technology was used to be a kind of supportive function for us to execute our main function. Now, technology itself has become a main domain. And under the technology, we have subdomains, like AI, of course, is one of them, cybersecurity, data science, which is the evolving area. We talk about all these things. We talk about sustainability also, right? But where are the talents? 80% of the CFOs, as I recently came into the Bloomberg report, are quite worried about the availability of the talent. And our profession is the knowledge-driven profession. That's why nurturing, harnessing talent is more important. And then next question comes, which is even more complex sometimes, is that talent should also be trainable and cost-effective, right? Many of the chartered accountants, those who are in practice, they may be facing these issues, that sometimes you train the your employees, but then, thank you so much, they are not able to add much value to yourself, right? Either they quit or whatever, right? So not only you should be able to nurture and harness the talent, but that talent should also be trainable. And sometimes, to link with the overseas thing, in many of the jurisdiction, talent's availability is even bigger issue than what we are sensing in India. Okay, so now we'll touch upon the country-specific scenario of there are 5-6 countries of the GCC. Okay, I am based out of Qatar, so I'll start from Qatar. Then, in the order of importance, we'll take up UAE, Saudi Arabia, and then other smaller countries, and then we'll move to the other aspects, right? Whenever you are planning to aspire the expanding your business, right, or expand your practice or explore opportunities, always analyze the opportunity on these parameters. What are the G2G relationship? Means government to government. What are the B2B relationship? Means business to business. And what are the P2P relationship? Means people to people. Okay, you all are based out of India, your client may be based out of there. Unless any of this relationship is not that strong, ultimately your client and intent, you all will likely to suffer. Okay, for example, with Qatar, I will not read everything because we want more of an interactive engagement, but 50 years of diplomatic relationship is there. Recently the Emir of Qatar visited India, and the authorities decided to elevate the partnership or relationship to the strategic partnership level, right, which is very important, with a possibility to explore to CEPA or KEPA, what you call, which is Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. India has already signed KEPA with UAE, which is likely to surge trade to a great extent, but there is also possibility to do it by 2030. A great investment has been pledged by Qatar to the fastest major growing economy of the world, and which is India. And India is the second largest exporter of Qatar and third largest importer for Qatar. Okay, here some of you are more interested. The country which population of just less than 3 million, 30 lakhs, right, are having nearly 8,000 Indian firms, or 8,000 firms in which Indian person is the key owner, right? And who are going to serve these Indian firms? None other than chartered accountants, like all of us, right? So this underlines the significance of the untapped opportunities which lies ahead of all the chartered accountants in India, right? There are 50 fully Indian owned firms. What do we mean by that is that as per the ownership structure of these countries, not only in Qatar but all the GCC countries, some of the seniors over here who are aware of this, like Furia sir, that you need to have 51%, exactly 51%. So have you read my presentation, sir? Okay. 51% ownership must vest with the citizen, and 49% or less has to be with the non-citizen. So every country, in short, gives the importance to their own citizen. So that when our Prime Minister does it, he is not wrong, right? And recently we are seeing that phenomenon where some of the other leaders of the world think of their own country first. I don't know name it, but that's how it is going on. So in short, Hindi में जो कहते हैं, I take a liberty to speak little bit in Hindi. सबको अपनी खिचड़ी पकाने में interest है, right? So that's what it is, and nobody is wrong over there. Pledged to double the bilateral trade between India to Qatar to USD 28 billion. Huge figure. Okay, with India and country of this size, you will see some other figures. So then you will realize, when you put in perspective, USD 28 billion is how huge it can be, right, by 2030. So it is like, in short, it is likely that from the current level of bilateral trade, okay, I don't know, most of you would be interested in knowing that or have some idea about it. From USD 15 or 14 to 15 billion, it's likely to be doubled in next 5 years. Okay, now who will get advantage of the increased volume of trade? Indian firms, right? Correct? And who will add value to this firm? Who will do the compliance task of this firm? When money flows, the accounting comes, taxation comes, compliance comes. None other than our Indian brethren, chartered accountants, right? I always feel very pride, although it's just one example, okay, and a singular kind of illustration. But we should also be very proud of the fact about our own Indian company. Recently, Larsen and Toubro has got the biggest order from Gulf, from Qatar Energy, which is 15,000 crore rupees. It's not a small amount, 15,000 crore rupees. Okay, so we all must be proud as Indians about it. I remember that how many of you are little bit of football fan over here? I can see some of them. Okay. I'm not the one being a couch potato, by the way. Okay. So if you know, sir, that in 2022, Qatar has organized the FIFA World Cup, right? Which is the one of its kind football in the entire region. Okay. There were consortium of the companies, right, which has been given the task to build up the stadiums, the metros, the whole infrastructure to receive the people from all over the world. Because we are a cricket frenzy nation, but we should accept the fact that the majority of the countries of the world are having interest. It's a global game. Football is the global game. All the companies were from USA and European countries, few of them from China. Only one Indian company was given the task to the stadium, and that was L&T. Okay, and that one company from the entire Southeast region. So that shows the credential, not only of the particular company, but the belief into the Indian bright minds. That's why I always mention it. Sovereign Wealth Fund. So basically, what is Sovereign Wealth Fund? I don't know, many of you have idea or not. It means kind of trust, not like trust in the sense of India or in income tax contest, but an authority which manages the state revenue, which results from the hydrocarbon reserve. So that's called the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Okay, Section 1023FE of Indian Income Tax Act grant the exemption from taxation of the income of Sovereign Wealth Fund, which results from India. I have one slide. I will, little bit in detail, I will discuss about it. So they have pledged to invest USD 1 billion in Reliance Retail. So it is like a inbound investment from India. Okay. Inbound investment for India, and USD 500 million in Adani Green. And this is just of one country, but all the sovereign wealth fund, be it of ADNOC in Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund or Kuwaiti, they have invested massively of late, especially in last 10 years, into the Indian economy and Indian giants like Reliance Retail, Adani Green, and including some of the startups also. I have one slide, but incidentally, now it's a long presentation, so whatever thought comes to us, we will discuss in between. Like Saudi Arabian Sovereign Fund has invested greatly into some of the early stage startups, like Paytm, Policy Bazaar, Delivery, First Cry, and I believe all of now are listed companies, right? First Cry is the Mahindra's division for the babies products and all. So all of them are listed company, and you can, those who are into stock market will know the stock price of this into last 5 years. So that's the kind of return they have got. People to people relationship, out of nearly 25 lakhs or 30 lakhs people, 800,000 is the Indian community. So we want to establish the business or do some tie-up as far as profession is concerned where more Indians are there probably, right? Because that will give us some sort of safety and security. So these are the, I thought to always analyze any opportunity on these 3 parameters, not only in GCC but anywhere where you want to expand your business. So now some of the key facts. So this we will do it for all the countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council. Qatar Investment Authority, which is the sovereign wealth fund, as I mentioned over here, okay, a tiny country of population of less than 30 lakhs, 3 million, sovereign wealth fund is 9th largest into world, okay. So that shows the resilience and strength or probably the prosperity of the economy. Second largest exporter of LNG and third largest producer of LNG. Why second largest exporter and not third despite being the producer is because of the sanction on Iran, which by America, which some of you know. So first is USA and second is Qatar in that respect. Only 51 companies or 55 companies are listed on Qatari stock exchanges against 2,600, 3,000 in NSE or BSC probably in India. Startup ecosystem is in nascent stage, which is growing, but still has a lot to go. But it is also ranked very high on some of the parameters that I will cover. Qatar's export from India, USD 2 billion, and Qatar's import to India, you can see the figure, USD 17 billion, right? So that's where when we should appreciate our own government, that the tiny countries which is less than probably 1/10 of the size of our economy, their import to India is far more higher than our export, okay. So that's where we actually appreciate the focus and the efforts of the government on the Atmanirbhar Bharat as much as we can, and why Make in India initiative is of paramount importance for the economy. And now we realize the importance of this on even more off late, since what's happening on global scale by USA since a month or two. So we all know it, Okay, population I mentioned. Another fact, so this is the economic overview. I always tell the accountants or chartered accountants, especially the young chartered accountants and the students, that you need to, have a deeper dive into the numbers of the financial statements which you are analyzing. Don't see just as the growth of revenue, growth of EBITDA, growth of profit and cash flow, okay. For example, you should be able to see that how inflation is driving the numbers. If the disposable income is increasing, okay, what is the impact of increased disposable income on the financial? What do you mean by disposable income? Some of you may know disposable income in economic means whatever income is left after meeting your essential expenses or investment, right? In simple terms. So, these are the things which we should know probably, and not. So I always see that, any opportunity, you analyze that what is the GDP of that particular country, what is the per capita income, what is the growth of GDP. So this is some research I have done about all these countries. So 2020, 144 billion was the GDP, 21. In 2020, it was degrowth of 18% in all the economies, including India, and reason is not unknown, of course, because of COVID. Then after, as it always happens, after a big drop, there's always a big jump, which we are saying. So again, the trend is more or less same in all the countries of Gulf and other countries also. You can see increase of 25%, 31% increase. Now I gave one reason, and I think somebody mentioned what happened in 2022 here because of Football World Cup. Exactly. Correct? Why I'm mentioning this? See, when any country organizes the major event, the big event of this size and scale, okay, this is bound to contribute to the economy of that particular country. Okay, so now you know why India is aspiring to organize Olympics in which year? 2036. Yes. So you know, all of you, we all are sports lover, right? So we know it. So why the countries are bidding or queuing up to organize the major sporting events or major event in any area is because of this reason. And that's why the economy increase. After any increase, it slowly stabilizes, slowly goes down, and then in 2025, it again is estimated to achieve moderate growth, which is not bad. Big GDP per, in fact, you know, before the oil price, which has slightly come down now, because this GDP is, for them, it's linked directly to the price of oil and gas per barrel. So as of all of you know, some of you may know it, okay. It was ranked amongst the top 2 countries of the world as far as the GDP per capita income is concerned. And this is on the nominal basis. So I'm sure that all of you will know the difference between GDP on nominal basis and GDP on PPP basis, which is purchasing power parity, right? So I'm sure that we all are chartered accountants, we know it. If we don't know, PPP basis GDP is that, and these figures are always different. It means it also takes into account the cost of living into that particular country. So that's why I'm always telling that, you know, we need not to have knowledge of only accounting, right? But finance is broad financial management, broad spectrum of whole financial management, interest rate, inflation scenario, macro and microeconomics are also equally important to all of us. If not important, at least within the chartered accountant, to those who know it, it will give you some competitive edge, which we all aspire to achieve, right? It's very important. Sectoral growth, but this happens with many of the countries. 2023 figure I mentioned because of this FIFA. Construction sector has gone down by 8%. Reason is very easy to understand, because major event has concluded, major projects in infrastructure and construction, because they build all this thing because of the preparation of this. But then what happens in hospitality and tourism? So this happens with any countries. Okay, so why I am mentioning this, not about one particular country, but it's also important to analyze for all of us that which are the sectors which is actually contributing to GDP. I gave example of the Mauritius, as you all know. Comparison to the region and the world. So for this overseas opportunity, this is also extremely important that you analyze. I have presented the figure that what are the growths between in the world, advanced economy, emerging market and developed economies between 22 and 23, because I wanted to take reliable figure only. That's why I've taken little couple of years old figure. MENA region, okay, means Middle East and North Africa. Some of you will know it. And what is happening in Qatar. So on this, all this parameter, when one country is compared to the whole world, compared to that particular region, okay, when it is compared to the advanced economy, it is scored higher. Okay. Some of you will be now interested in knowing the taxation law. So this is also, I have covered the slides because, you know, a lot of things are happening on taxation fronts also. We are blessed in India as such, or we have that very mature kind of, you know, competitive tax. Not competitive, but at least our model is quite mature, right? But that's not the case with many of the countries into the world. So very happy and very good actually for me that I'm not paying any income tax. So there is no personal income tax on any of the income which I derive from Qatar. And when I remit, I mean, let's not say I, but when the residents are remitting any money to India into NRE account also, some of you will know, it is also tax exempt. So that is one of the reasons that why the interest, let's say, is growing into this particular region as a whole. Okay, I don't remember any region in the world as such, okay, which is not having any taxation. Yes, Ankita. 1 minute. Just 1 second. Which is my bottle, I think. Yeah. So we are talking, Ankita, about the income tax. See, as I always mention, there are a lot of misnomer about this country. To put in a lighter vein, the there are a lot of differences between all these countries on visa matters, on taxation matters, on VAT matters also. Despite the treaty was signed, so I always say amongst my friends, and this is a quite elite crowd, that just the name is Gulf Cooperation Council. You have to remove the word cooperation. There is no cooperation. So because a lot of people ask me that I am coming to Dubai, and can I have a like Schengen visa? Where you can travel to all the countries of Europe. Can I have it? I told no. You have to have, maybe sometime you have visa on arrival, but you need to have visa for each specific country. Okay, so that's there. But yes, okay. To answer to your query, there is, as of now, there is a corporate income tax of 10%. Okay, that is only on the share of the non-citizens ownership. Okay, so for those who are citizens of the country, they will have the higher majority stake first of all, and without any taxation. Okay, and then there are a lot of incentives, which is another thing. So I think I answered your question. But yes, see, ultimately I'm not telling that each country has to emulate the tax model of other country, but ultimately to see at a broader spectrum, every country has to have a globally competitive tax, and that's what even the OECD model talks about. Okay, they are not telling that you emulate the taxation what UAE has or Singapore has or US has or the mature economy, but the tax rate for any businesses has to be globally competitive. So from that aspect, it may come at a later point of time. So no value added tax also. VAT, many of you will know, it's a very simpler form of a GST, what we have over here. So this is also one classic example about the difference in taxes in all these countries. So a lot of CAs ask that, okay, in GCC you have 5% VAT. So see, now what happens in 2017, the treaty was signed between all these 6 countries that we will have VAT very soon, and standard rate will be 5%, and all have agreed. Okay, today we are talking on 2025. Qatar doesn't have any value added tax. Kuwait doesn't have any value added tax. First country to implement the value added tax was the UAE, as you rightly mentioned, and Saudi Arabia also with 5%. Then again changes came, which we'll see in subsequent slide. Saudi Arabia increased the rate of VAT to 15%, steep increase, because they may realize the importance of garnering more revenue or to help their economy, which has caused some damage because of the COVID, probably. So the increase have come immediately after the COVID, right? So even, despite that treaty, and I still remember, because you mentioned that I was in Doha chapter of ICI. So sir, you are RCM, so you will know, all the consultants were behind us immediately when this treaty was signed. VAT is coming, VAT is Qatar, because consultants and chartered accountants are very keen to have VAT, right? So that we all get the work, basically. So they told that, and one of the big 4 came to us, that see, now the treaty is signed. After 6 months, VAT will come in Qatar. We want to organize a session and be a sponsor. So which chapter or branch will say no, right? But that will happen in 2017. Today we are on 2025, and still there is no sign of VAT. So this is what is happened. So still I am receiving many inquiries from many chartered accountants that because maybe they are tired of hearing the news about VAT, but government probably does not need revenue. They are so prosperous that they don't need revenue from value added tax or any mode of taxation. Another method, which is I must mention, it is also a little bit sensitive issues to have any taxation, in any countries, okay, when you don't have a democracy, because in all this country you have a monarchy, right? So that is also very important question, because they don't want to antagonize the people over there, right? So it's little bit of sensitive issue. Custom duty 5%, basic food items are exempt, and this is straight away for all the companies, right? It's very important because in all these countries, because I am from the FMCG sector, so I know that even now, a lot of global turmoil is happening. Those of you who are aware, especially into the trade aspect. When you want to import any material, every other day you receive news of Houthi attacks and Suez Canal is closed. So what happens is that the transit time to import any commodity has greatly increased, and that requires for companies like us in which I am working in FMCG sector to have of course the higher inventory. When you have higher inventory, what happen? You will have higher expiry also. So these are very typical issues which we are facing in food and beverages sector. On the top of that, we cannot increase the price of any commodity without government approval. So the direct strain will come on the balance sheet of the entity. So it's good for the consumer that before increasing even a single rupees of key commodity, you need government approval. Okay, but it's not that good for the organization, right? Because their margin will be shrinked. Mandatory audit, when your capital exceeds Qatari Riyal 200,000 or when your revenue exceeds Qatari Riyal 500,000, you need to do the audit. See why it is important. As I mentioned, all these countries probably they don't need tax revenue, but what they need, and which is a great sign for chartered accountants, is that they need compliance, right? The compliance rate is very, very high, and who are going to cater to those 6,000 or 8,000 Indian firms and do the audit of that? None other than our Indian chartered accountants, right? So it's very important to understand is mandatory return filing also there. As of now, they also started scrutinizing it because like in India, everything is online, on online portal, so they know that when your income is exceeding and when you not filed the return of income. I received very interesting query, recently in one of the session, because one of the chartered accountants is into litigation of taxation. So he asked me that what is the scope, sir, into the taxation and especially into the litigation, right? So it is also one of the sunrise sectors, because when the taxation comes, when the compliance comes, the next will follow is to the reopening of the case when you not filed the return of income. So there is also, I have been seeing now the case inquiries and queries to us where the government is asking retrospectively the penalty or the levying of penalty and the taxation. They open the case like probably you've seen in India also, which is even old, 6 years, 7 years old, right? But that's where the opportunity lies for the chartered accountant. So that's why I thought to mention about the litigation. Withholding tax is just like TDS, very simple. Contract declaration is very typical requirement here, that when you enter into any contract or any agreement with a country which is non-resident, means not having a permanent establishment, here you are required to give the detail or furnish the detail of all the contracts, irrespective of the value. Even if it is the 1,000 Riyal, still you are required to report it. When it is with the resident of the countries, the threshold limit is 200,000 for services and 500,000 for supply. Although it's not good to convert, but just for you to understand, it's nearly 24 Indian rupees to 1 Qatari Riyal. So it's not, we should never convert. I cannot convert when I spend some money in Qatar, that how much it to the Indian rupees, then my heart will boil probably, right? Because things are always, when we or our parents, go to any of the foreign countries, the basic tendency is to multiply that, we are spending $10. So how much I spend in Indian rupee? You should never do it, but still, for simplification, I am mentioning over here. But this is very important requirement, and who will do it other than the chartered accountant over here? Sometime it also is penalty. When you don't furnish the contract as required by this clause, the penalty is very, very high. Again, all these countries, probably they may not require the tax revenue, but there is very stringent requirement on the compliance part. And when you don't do, the penalty rates are very, very high. So penalty here for non-filing is Qatari Riyal 10,000. Okay. So sometime it may also happen that the value of contract with non-resident itself is lower than the penalty. Still you are required to do it. Important thing here over there is the double taxation avoidance agreement. Many of the chartered accountants are not aware about this particular requirement, because we sometimes think that this DTA, especially the small and medium practitioners, we always think that no, this DTA and all are, for HNIs and ultra HNIs clients. Okay, it's not the case over here. With some of the countries in the world, in fact with around 90 countries, if I remember correctly of the world, India has signed the double taxation avoidance agreement. Qatar is one of them, and there are others also outside GCC also. What it says is that some of you may be aware, or some of your client, especially we know that in the latter part of financial year 2024-25 has not been so kind to the stock market investors, right? So what happened, we didn't see so much of sales of stocks and mutual fund in 23-24, but now we are seeing, in FY 24-25, especially after the 3rd October 24, we are seeing a lot of turmoil into stock market. So there is natural tendency for investor to sell it, and for NRIs especially. Okay, so they will sell it. The gain or the the taxation on the gain of the proceeds of the mutual funds is not taxable. Furia sir, correct? I am sure you have many clients, that's why you agree. So, and those who are interested, I have something in my mobile, I can show you in the detail. So the gain on the mutual fund only, not on the gain of securities and into the real estate. So gain on the mutual fund only in the hands of mutual fund unit holders is not taxable for the NRIs. Especially they have mentioned in that ruling about the NRIs in UAE, okay, but I know about NRIs in Qatar also. I know about NRIs in Singapore also, because that was the published thing. Okay, here by way of this double taxation avoidance agreement, the dividend. So normally the dividend is taxed if I don't give the tax residency certificate. Okay, I think this is a critical area. So any of the question what you have, you please ask. Okay, so don't hesitate to ask the question. Dividend income is taxed at the rate of 20%, but because of this double taxation avoidance agreement, it is taxed at a lower rate. Okay, so many a time chartered accountants unfortunately are not aware. I am not blaming them, that there is such a requirement, which immediately Furia sir mentioned that. Again I am repeating, any NRI client of yours, okay, if he has any gain from the sale of mutual fund units, okay, it is tax exempt, right? It is only for the mutual fund, it is not for the, and again then lot of, then so when one exemption happened, immediately we have tendency to ask for other exemption, and then we receive query, what is the difference between mutual fund and stocks? If it is for mutual fund, why it is not for stock? So we cannot decide it, neither I, neither you. For the gain on the stock, it is not exempt. Gain on the other, any of other asset, real, it is not exempt. Okay, so that's one particular thing. Just 1 minute, sir. Is about the because I have been receiving this query lot of times, that what are the documents which is required, which assessee has to give to claim the exemption. Okay, first is the tax residency certificate. So if I want to claim exemption on my transactions on mutual fund, I should provide to my chartered accountant the tax residency certificate of Qatar, evidencing that I am the tax resident of that country. Okay, so normally this is, see, the onus to provide this is on the SSE in your term, right? But normally, as we know, SSE will throw everything on us. This is the sometimes we are happy that he is throwing, but actually it's not a good sign. They have to do it. If I were to claim exemption, I should provide to Furia sir that this is my tax residency certificate, and then he has to file, I think, form 10F or some form, and exemption is, the tax will be refunded. Okay, to obtain the tax residency certificate, what you need to do, sometimes your client will not be aware of it. So they will ask you, okay, you are asking me TRC, I'll bit, but there are, okay, you are required to go on the site of each of the country,
Qatar or UAE or Oman, and then they will give one common factor is there. As you know about the, in India what we have the residential status, right? And we have that resident, not ordinary resident, and NRIs and all. Okay, so you have to evidence that you were the physically present into this country for more than how many days? 183 days, right? So that once you, and that, so next question will come that from there, from where we can get these details. Okay, so that you can get from the, all this is by application. You have to apply for to the you know, the expatriate department of this particular country, and immediately you will get this detail that, because nowadays, you know, see, in lot of countries there is a e-gate. So, you know, gone were the days when the immigration department where used to stamp the passports. In Qatar we have e-gate. In India also very recently it's introduced in some of the airports, I came to know. Okay, so you know, you will not always have that stamp, and then you have to count that when he left, when he entered, all these things, right? So these details are easily available. So I just, because this is a frequently asked question, I thought to discuss in little bit. Somebody asked or asking question. Yes, sir. Huh? My voice is audible? Last bench, sir. Yeah. So that I covered, no? So, you know, see, this is all country specific site. So, you know, I can even send you the link. It's not very difficult to find out. But many of the, you know, see, this kind of thing will come only when client says that I have to pay the tax. See, nobody probably, especially on the client side, bothers about the compliance if he is not required to pay any tax. The moment tax payment comes, the natural inclination, yes. Of course, you cannot give. And so, you know, but one thing I am making it very clear to all of you is that, see, you know, I don't know it's in context or not, but let's not always do the client's work. Okay, you will invite unnecessary headache in our plant. Okay, huh? We get fees for it. Okay, I mean, nobody can do it probably other than you, the filing of Form 10F, which is our job. Okay, TRC, if somebody asks to you, okay, otherwise client will even tell you tomorrow that you monitor my details of my entry and exit. I mean, why on the earth, right? That's the normal tendency, always. So, okay, so TRC is their job to produce it to you. And yes, one very important thing, in fact, I'm thankful to you for, you know, asking this. There is no charge for obtaining TRC. All these countries are not bothered in money, in making money to give you TRC. Okay, there is a small charge in giving you, in my country, the details of exit and entry, which is just Qatari Riyal 10, which is, you know, not even 250 rupees. No, there is no. What I'm mentioning, there is no charge. There is no charge for TRC, but to obtain TRC, you need to give them. I mean, file the on the upload online the details of your entry and exit. For that, there is a very nominal charge. I mean. So for the individuals which are located, normally they will see once you give the entry and exit, then they will have all the details. Okay. Other details are quite normal when you first entered to UAE, then you know where you are working currently right now, what is your visa validity date, all the things are there. In some of the cases, you are required the letter from employer also, which is, I mean, very easy to get. Okay. So I hope this helps. Yes, Furia sir. Oh, it could be probably. Yeah, it can be under Ministry of Finance. In Qatar, it is under the Ministry of actually Labor, Expatriate, you know, department. So it can be. But point is that, see, now I think the deadline is 15th September, right? Under, so you know, you can correct me. I'm not much aware of this Indian income tax. So you know, but these things can be finished within a 1 week if you have all the documents. So you know. So I think it's very very clear. So I thought to mention. Transfer pricing is also there where many of the requirements are there. So what are the professional opportunities for CA? This is there for all the countries. So I will not discuss in detail for all. Auditing, accounting, taxation and transfer pricing, as you have seen. Company formation, a great area of practice which the clients are, I would say, the inquiring to the people over there or to all of us being a CA. Because so they will ask that, okay, see, I have this much capital. They will come to you being a chartered accountant. Okay, I have this much capital. Suggest me the right sector or probably the sector they have in which they are into it. Okay, but I want to form a company into UAE or Qatar or any country. Okay, what are the methodologies I have to follow? What are the funding requirements? Okay, so company formation is very very important, and there probably you are required to get in touch with particular agency or find a local partner and then help them in preparing the incorporation document, what we have in India over here, help them in opening the bank account, right? So this kind of service, because there are a lot of SMEs and MSMEs are there in which Indian is the prime shareholder. So this is one of their, yes sir. Of course, this is my next slide. Yes. I have 62 slides and you have to give me dinner for that. On a lighter note. Okay, on a lighter note. Okay, okay. No, we will not cover in this much great detail, but wherever the meat is there for vegetarian, wherever the paneer is there, we have to give more significance. Okay, so that's what it is. Feasibility studies. See, those who are having the smaller client base, okay, and it is typically for SMPs, small and medium term practitioners, their small clients are facing lot of issues. Okay, if you see from client point of view, recovery issues is there, working capital turnover, inventory turnover is one of the big issue which companies are facing in this region, because if you see the infrastructure and trading is the backbone of this particular whole region. Most of these companies are into the trading and infrastructure sector, construction sector, or that kind of allied sector. Okay, so of course they will have the inventory. When they have the inventory, of course it's not easy to maintain and manage the optimal level of inventory. So probably they are hiring chartered accountants that help me manage the optimum level of the inventory. So a lot of issues are there in doing that feasibility study and internal control and risk management. One thing I will mention about the valuation. I don't know here in India or not, but outside India, in many countries, slowly it is gaining a bigger prominence. So those who are into, especially have some experience into valuation, okay, it is, I would say it is one of the sunrise domains. And there is a reason for that. Why? One reason is that capital erosion is happening. Okay, it's not easy to continue the business in a sustainable manner, okay, for 5 years, 10 years, especially for the SMEs, right? Due to the many factors, the country specific issues and the global issues. Another factor is that most of the companies are the, what they call it, OMG, owners managed group, family owned organization. We have often seen that sometime the founder or the anchor of the family is very credible and very capable, but the second generation is not that much, right? So that requires, so what they will do? Nothing but to stack the sell. I mean, sell the stack. And when they are required to sell the stack, first thing they will ask is the valuation report, right? So I have seen, in all these countries, it doesn't take more time to make valuation reports, provided if you have all the forecasting, cash flows, EBITDA for 5 years, 10 years, how DCF and all these things are there. Normally it does not take more than at least, a week or two in having the comprehensive valuation report based on various methods, benchmarking methods, DCF method. I'm sure, especially in Mumbai, the chartered accounts are very elite, so they will know all these things. So valuation is one of the, and the fees level are also, what I have seen is reasonably higher than the attest function, what we call over here, or the simple taxation function. I'm not generalizing it, but this is my overall observation. Okay, So, and many of the chartered accountants are, I don't know how you all will feel, but many of are really happy that valuation does not involve any accountability also, unlike attestation service where you are required to sign the balance sheet. Okay, Furia sir is very happy. I think he got the message, so I need not to elaborate in that. But you know, on a sincere note, this is one of the big area of practice which is now gaining the prominence. Again, one area in which all these countries are involved into is the what they call in-country value certification. In fact, in Doha, we have just a seminar on ICV, in-country value, just after a few days. So what does it basically mean is that you contribute back to the community to support the localization. As I mentioned, every country, you know, now especially they realize that the whole country is dependent actually on Indians, if I tell you correctly, being 40% of their population. Okay, so what is the role the local has to play? They realize that, you know, local people, nationals, you know, are not getting much out of it. Okay, so that's why the question of localization comes. So they want to encourage the indigenization of the product. It considers goods and service, workforce training. These are few parameters. If you are into trading business, okay, this is driven by an ICV model. ICV score is given and it is published on the website of this ICV. You can check it. You can just Google it and you will see it. Okay. Weightage is also given if the supplier from whom you are procuring the material is also ICV registered, and higher the score, how they have set up, if your score is higher, you have a greater chance to win the bid in the government contracts, oil and contracts or infrastructure contracts. So lot of now all these companies, even the smaller one, are required to obtain, I'm using the word required to obtain the ICV certification. Okay, chartered accountants can be benefit on both the side. Okay, there are empaneled chartered accountants firms who are there, okay, who are required to audit the ICV score. And chartered accountants can also help the client in preparing the model on which ICV score is determined, right? Of course, you cannot be at the both side of the table. It is, you know, given without saying no, but you can be either the practicing CA can be ICV certifier and score is published, so you can be either the ICV certifier which audits and certifies the scores on behalf of government, or you can help the client, all these firms which I have mentioned over there. Okay, and another great thing is that many of the chartered accountants naturally are interested to have a recurring revenue and not one-time revenue. Good thing is that this certificate is also to be renewed annually. So I can see a lot of smiles and happiness. So I think this is a great area. It's natural. Everybody likes this concurrent audit and that kind of audit. Now, I think you asked this question about this. How to set up an audit and consultancy firm in Qatar. Okay, you require, it's a must, you need to have a national who will be having majority of the stake. Okay, so that is one thing. And it just, I mean, outside India we don't enjoy that kind of monopoly what we have. So your partner just need to be a university degree holder. In fact, to do the audit also, you don't need to be a chartered accountant. If we all are chartered accountants, it's great. For auditing, what you need to do is to pass the exam. Okay, and this exam is really very tough. On a lighter note, no, there cannot be any tougher examination than chartered accountancy. Actually, this exam is very, very easy. Okay, which anybody can pass. Many chartered accountants have passed it, you know, so there is no issue on, but you need to pass an exam. Again, lot of CAs ask me that, you know, exam, how we pass and all. It's very easy, is much easier, not only than CA, but even the post-qualification courses what we have. But they need to control actually the auditing license. You know, as many of the seniors, many of the forefathers of the profession have always mentioned, auditing is a serious business. If you are not serious about it, don't get into it, right? Signing the balance sheet comes with a greater amount of responsibility, and you know, all of you know that the level of responsibility, accountability, level of scrutiny level of regulation what we chartered accountant are required to follow are only increasing, right, over the years. So they need this examination only if you are required to sign the balance sheet. For any of the consultancy work, taxation work, including valuation, they don't need any exam. Okay, so in fact there are many firms which have been set up, and see what typical a CA firm has done it is that they just test the water, and that's not a bad idea. Okay, so they establish the firm or tie up with somebody, and then do the consultancy work or the firm or the work which does not require exam or audit license, and then if they are successful, then they go for the auditing. So that is there. And this examination for auditing is in all the countries, I must mention over here. I was instrumental actually in signing the first ever MOU between ICI and Qatar Financial Center. It was signed in 2021. So I had facilitated the task, and it was, I always believe that the leaders, so like we have here Furia sir and RCM was there and chairman. So what is leaders' job? Great leaders does not bridge the gap only between the individuals. They bridge the gaps between the institutions also. That's the hallmark of a great leader. Okay, this was just one attempt to bridge the gap, to bring closer two of the renowned institutions, of course the world's largest accounting bodies, of which we all are proud members, ICI and Qatar Financial Center. Okay, so what are the objectives of this particular MOU? After extensive amount of dialogue, and idea is not to have an upper hand, but idea is always to create a win-win situation. Okay, as a part of this MOU, which is very important. So what are the brief, and this is publicly available. It's not that something which that chartered accountants will provide technical training and knowledge to the employees of Qatar Financial Center and the employees of the ministry. So great scope of CA who are located are there, is there. QFC will participate into the ICI conferences and events. I remember Qatar Financial Center has sponsored some of the regional conferences also in that particular year. So which is a kind of financial support and sponsorship. And the opportunities for the Indian businesses in Qatar via roundtable and networking events. Another, the follow-up objective I would say is the recognition of the qualification of chartered accountants, a very, very burning issue. So I am here not only to say only the great and positive things about about this all these countries, but also the burning issue, which is the recognition of the chartered accountants qualification outside India. As you know that for visa purpose, so some of you want to go to US or Canada, Singapore, what they will ask is that do you have BCom degree or not. Nobody will ask that are you CA or not. Unfortunately, that's a reality, stark reality. Okay, so outside India we need to do greater work even to recognize the qualification for CA as a degree. See, what is the problem is that I don't want to get into detail because it's a vexed issue. UGC recognized the chartered accountant as part with the postgraduate, as part of with one of the circular. But the problem with what happening with all these countries is that they recognize the qualification which is a full-time, where you have the campus. So when I approach any of this ministry through the embassy or even through ICI and all these things, okay, they ask the simple question, do you have a campus? Okay, now where is the campus? Okay, what is the university? So it's very difficult to make them understand that not university, but we are constituted under the Act of Parliament. Okay, but then there are a lot of other supportive function has also been happened. So so one of the objectives to recognize the chartered accountancy as a professional qualification and all this kind of. Why it is very important, friends, is that here, as I mentioned, we enjoy the top post, we enjoy the monopoly, but outside India, in any of the country, you have to compete with all the chartered accounts from other countries, be it from other Asian countries. You have to compete with ACCAs also, right? And you have to compete with CPAs also, not only from USA, but what I call, on a lighter vein, Chinese CPA. That means the CPA even from the other countries also. Okay, so that competition level is really intense outside India. That's why the professional qualification, professional recognition of qualification is very, very. In fact, I was very surprised to know. I don't know what is the situation in Mumbai and Western region. Recently, I traveled to South, so I was seeing that the kind of marketing which these ACCAs are doing. I mean, this is and it's clearly marketing strategy. So when marketing comes, it lacks the substance, right? That's how the work marketing is there. So they say that we want to market ourselves. So even if we are second to no one as far as the quality and the technical knowledge is concerned. Okay, still we have to compete with even with the ACCA, even in India. In fact, when I entered into these cities of Kerala, even before you enter, there was a big holding that join ACCA and glorify your career. And they hired this. I saw that Mohanlal as their brand ambassador. Mohanlal is one of the most prominent actors in southern region, like Amitabh Bachchan of South is the Mohanlal. So big picture. So this is the very clever marketing strategy. That's where the branding of the profession is more important. But this is even more important because of the competition. Yes, sir. Sorry, I was just in rhythm of this. Please tell me. Yeah. So yeah, just I'll explain you. So basically, what to do if you want to establish a fund under QFC? As I mentioned, it is a parallel regulation, okay, which is for the firms into the BFSI sector, banking, financial service, and insurance sector, where you need not to give majority of the stake to the nationals. 100% ownership vests with you, right? 100% repatriation of the profit is also possible. So there are many owners or firms which doesn't like to give the majority stake to the owner due to various issues. So this is the only requirement is that it has to be in the designated premises of the Qatar Financial Center, and they are opening up because they don't want to see the CA firms into at a premises which is of not that standard. It's not very costly, but still they want to have the offices at the designated area. Yes, please. Yes, tell me. See, you can approach me, via LinkedIn, and I'll guide you, or on WhatsApp or something. And that's for every member, not only for you. But to answer your question, there are a lot of agencies are there, reputed agencies, okay, which you can hire it, and you have to check probably the most important thing is the track record of the person, and what are their intentions actually, frankly speaking. Okay, you should not mind in giving them majority stake, but in turn they should not create problem for you, in short. Okay, because as I mentioned, the cost of non-compliance or cost when you land yourself in any trouble is very, very high as compared to India, and that is the case with any of the foreign countries, not only here in GCC or UAE. Okay, so be very careful. In fact, even for the check bounce, I've seen many Indian brothers, Indian entrepreneurs, of course. Okay, even if when the check is bounced because of the non-availability of fund, you are immediately behind the bar, and your travel ban will be imposed. So you cannot travel even if the check is of 1,000 riyal. If it is due to insufficiency of the fund, you will be into the prison, and travel ban. You cannot travel then. Okay. So, and then there is a costly legal affairs are there. Lawyers outside outside India probably are more fortunate than us, because the legal fees of all these things is quite high. So in short, to approach any reliable agency which can contact you with the local partner, and that's how the things will be initiated. Okay. Then there are a lot of activities which have been permitted by the ministry where 100% overseas investment is possible. Okay, for that there are minimum capital requirement is there. Okay, of around 200,000 real. Okay, so you need to infuse that amount of capital, but if you don't have, sometime government approves based on the lower capital also, but the little amount of, a reasonable capital level is good for you to substantiate the case where 100% direct foreign investment possible in all these sectors. So they also realize the importance of this, that you need to open up the sectors. You cannot have that kind of mindset that even if the, okay, what happens if your citizen or the majority stakeholder is not that competitive, then all the work, all the risk will be run by Indians or other non-citizen. He will enjoy the dividend and all the fruits, and if anything goes wrong, it will be passed on to you, and he will immediately escape the any legal complication also. So it's very important. So they will realize the importance of opening up the sectors. These are the broad sector. There are a lot of activities in which if your clients into that, 100% direct investment is possible, right? Another, like you have in Dubai also, Dubai free zone and all this. The free zone is basically like in India we have the special economy zone. Absolutely, I appreciate your knowledge. Okay, so what is basically is that they are telling, okay, you again there is an option for service sectors company, QFC is there. For manufacturing sectors, Qatar free zone is there. If your company is into some of the designated cluster of activities, okay, operating into some specific activities, you can establish the entity in Qatar free zone, and they say you don't want to give majority, no problem. Substantiate the case that the project is financially viable, which is very, very important. Okay, and then what are the benefits? 100% ownership vests with you, 100% repatriation of profit is possible, 20 years tax holiday, right? So what more you can, and zero custom duty. And on the top of it, icing on the cake is no nationality restrictions as far as the visa for employees are concerned, right? So what more you can ask for? Only thing what you need to do as chartered accountants to help your clients in explaining that this case is viable financially, because this is a very specific requirement. I should be candid enough in explaining this is mostly for the HNI or ultra HNI clients. It's not that all the smaller entity can establish the business into the Qatar free zone, because the objective of, see how this country is cleverly marketing themselves. Okay, this is very interesting to see. I think it's come in my this slide. Okay, you see gateway between east and west. So because this whole GCC region is located into the middle of the world. Okay, so they say that we are the gateway between east and west, and we are 2.5 billion people contributing to 8.5 trillion in combined GDP. All are within just 3,000 kilometers of our sector. Look at the very clever way to market. It's not something which they have achieved. It's because the major contributor to the economy, to the world economy, which is India and China, of course, are within this, proximity to them. That's why. So basically, they want to use this Qatar free zone not only to manufacture the things within them in these cluster activities, and I have given the example also, but basically from there they want, or they encourage the entities to export out of it, right, using their own ports and airports. So this is the requirement of Qatar free zone, right? But again, you need to have little deep pockets, okay, and you need to withstand the little more payback period of your project if you aspire to establish the company in the Qatar free zone. Of course, then cluster activities and example are quite normal, which is not difficult to substantiate, right? So this is a startup ecosystem, as I mentioned, it's in nascent stage, yet to evolve. But good thing is that about the ease of doing business, it is ranked 77. Here we also appreciate the ranking of India also. It's not within top 50, but great thing is that India has come up from, I remember 130 or 140 to within less than 70 in last 10 years or so. So kudos to the government and authority, there, and it's not easy for the countries of our size and the challenges which we are facing and the very great neighbors which we have. So it's not easy for all of us to achieve that kind of ease of doing business, but it's very important startup. Again, one important fact is that, as we know, those who are into startups, they will know that backbone of the startup is the technology. Startups are mostly what there are into fintech, ed tech, health tech, right? And then many, so technology is the backbone. So here this country and all these countries in the Middle East, they are having very high ICT rate. ICT is one of the parameters, right, into the global innovation index. So if you want to analyze a little bit more about the global innovation, please Google it, and you will see that the rate of information, communication and technology, ICT, is 99%. In short, 99% of the population is having the 5G. Okay, so that's, but it's again, it's very easy for the country of 30 million, you know, less than one of the society probably or area of Mumbai. It's not easy for country of our size. So number of Indian CAs here, it's in diversified sectors. About all these, many of them are into trading and retail, which is occupying the highest amount of percentages. Then comes the oil and gas, of course, because the greater reliance of this country on the hydrocarbon reserve. One of the important things we have to understand is that, see, all these countries are quite reliant of the revenue which results from the hydrocarbon sector, which is means oil and gas. Okay, they tried greatly to diversify the source of revenue from hydrocarbon to tourism to banking to manufacturing also, because here everything is imported. So you know, to manufacturing also, hospitality, retail, service, but it's not happening to great extent, you know, except into the Dubai and to some extent into Oman. One of the reason is that the very extreme weather. So I'm here in Mumbai enjoying the rain all these days, but when I travel to Qatar, now we have 45-50 degree temperature. So out of 12 months, I think you will agree to that in Dubai also. Out of 12 months, I mean nearly we have, so I tell to my friends that we have 3 weathers in our country. Okay, summer, hot summer and extreme summer. Okay, so that's, but it means that, you know, out of 7 or 8 months, we have normal temperature which is about 30-35. Okay, so we always, sometimes we undermines the importance of weather, but weather is very, very important for us to, you know, function or to increase the operational of us. So this is one of the factors that why the tourism is not happening. I mean, and that's where the country like India is truly blessed with a variety of weathers. Okay, and sometime within the same month we have the variety of weather into different regions also. As I mentioned that, you know, let's be candid of the fact that we have to be really more competitive than what we are currently if we aspire to you know, achieve the overseas expansion, because we have to face the competition not only with our CAs also, okay, but also for the chartered accountants from various countries, like various South Asian countries, from Sri Lanka and all these countries, and also from ACCA, from CPAs, from CMS, from USA, and all these things. And then there are, you know, some of the countries in which they have the parallel accounting regulation. For example, like you have a CPA from Ireland also, right? So there are some countries in which the accounting regulation is existing. Of course, just like India, where we are the regulators, but we have to compete with that. But what is the, again, you know, there are always 2 sides of the coin. What is the advantage of that is there in this particular country? First, as I mentioned, that there is room to grow for firms of all size and scale due to very strong legal and compliance ecosystem, which we have, as which I highlighted earlier. Pricing factor is one of the things, because you know, the other side of the coin is that the level of fees and pricing is relatively higher. Okay, so of course the margin is higher. So that is one of the fact. Big thing is that yet the market is not overcrowded. Okay, and this is very, very important for all of you to understand if you are aspired to establish some kind of, you know, sustainable operation outside India. Friends, timing of your entry to overseas is very, very important. I will give you just simple example. Okay, as I mentioned, the VAT was promulgated in UAE in 2018. Okay, so everybody, all the chartered accountants, you know, wanted to establish some or other kind of, depending on their capacity, some operation in UAE. And believe me, all of them have milked the cow, right? And all of them have made their fortune. Now if somebody tells that, okay, now I want to go to UAE and I have specialization in vet, you know, it's very difficult, because of course the number of players have increased greatly, and hence the number of fees either have stabilized or have come down. Okay, so market, where the market is overcrowded, it's very, very important. That's why the timing of your entry into this overseas jurisdiction is extremely important, okay, in any of the countries, due to this. And I believe that, see, for a normal chartered accountants, you know, opportunity keeps on coming at every 5-7 years. It's for us to analyze that which opportunity is suitable to us, which is the domain area in which we can function. So I remember one of the chartered accountants, of friend of mine, and having a great experience in the taxation and all, okay. So he was telling to me that, you know, I want to expand to your country, help me, you know, and you know, and my core area is taxation, so I want to expand the practice only into that area. And that was a you know, discussion few years back. So, you know, how to do it. So he was here, since he's here, I mean, since 20-30 years. So I'm telling that, see, there is a great misalignment between what your expertise is and in the country in which you are going. You have expertise in taxation, and you are talking about the country which doesn't have any taxation. So you know, you need to bank upon your own expertise and experience. So it's very, very important to utilize the same. And of course, some area are in nascent state. Nascent means in a very unstructured manner. So we all know and all will appreciate, you know, the requirement or a need of chartered accounts are there where there are some kind of problems. So I was discussing when I was in, you know, Chennai with Zoho and all, that, you know, I mean, why do you need different consultant if all your, it was in IT context, you know, if all the systems are well placed, if there are no issues, if there is enough post implementation support, no complexities, very simplified operation, you know. So here it's not the case. So many of the areas are still in nascent stage where the opportunity exists. So it's UAE, so I will not repeat now about this. Only main thing is that after drop, as I mentioned earlier, more or less the trend is same in all these countries about this, okay. This is important for UAE especially because India has the, Furia sir, going good, because you are the, I mean, we are okay with the pace and the, I can see some interest and nodding, and also thanks for your attention. I can see all of you are, you know, quite engrossed into it, I can, so hopefully. So we'll still have some, I think 30 minutes or so. So SEPA came into force from 1st May 2022. It's likely to surge the bilateral trade of goods to USD 100 billion. Look at the volume which is existing because of the comprehensive economy partnership agreement between India and UAE, right? And India has this SEPA, you can Google it, with many other countries also, okay? Because now the greater, especially of this government, and which is rightly so, the greater collaboration is coming on the front of trade. And again, all these developments are only re-emphasizing to find a new trade partner to align your you know, the trade in line of new dynamics which have emerged, okay. And it covers 11 sectors including the professional services. So when we talk about Qatar, to put in perspective, you know, aspiring to achieve the bilateral trade of goods, if you remember, to nearly 30 billion within this next 5 to 7 years. Here we are talking about USD 100 billion. So that's the aspiration of the government, okay. And we must appreciate the fact that, you know, before 10 years back or before 7 or 8 years back, government aspired to achieve the 3rd or 4th largest economy status of the world. So, and how greatly we have already achieved the same. So kudos to our government also, that not only the goal was established somewhere in 16, 17 or that kind of, and after that lot of, you know, India is very blessed to have a lot of challenges and turmoil always. But despite all that, we achieved that status recently. Our next target is to achieve the USD $5 trillion economy by 2027. We are, as we all believe, we are very well on the course to achieve it. In between, lot of, you know, turmoil has come, challenges have come, COVID has come, okay. Still we achieved it, and so that's let's be appreciative of the fact, and all this because of the all this kind of initiative also, in fact, we may remain or not, but of course India will see USD $30 trillion economy, probably third largest economy of the world in 2047, and that's the goal of the government when India will celebrate the 100 year of independence, right? So these are the some of the initiative. Exports from India has increased, and it has actually given open environment and market access to the cross-border trade and services. Okay, what the benefit is that tariff elimination in a phased manner, reduction or an immediate depending on the covering of the goods. Okay, so give the benefit of this SEPA to your clients who are into UAE or having some kind of business relationship between India and UAE. Okay, so that's very important to bank upon all this initiative. This is some research I have done, and I'm sure all of you will be aware of the balance of trade and balance of payments. Okay, young chartered accountants have studied it into their economics and all. So you see the cycle of this, it's just a flavor. Okay, so this is the cycle where this is the balance of trade, right? So up to 1617 it was in India's favor, because the white line is above the zero, right? Slowly this is the total volume of bilateral trade, which is in FY22 it was 73 billion US dollar. Okay, somehow it is then going in the negatively as far as India is concerned. That's why this is going down. Due to this SEPA, it's likely to turn neutral. We are not talking about positive in India's favor, but at least likely to turn neutral in India's favor, which we are expected to go from negative to neutral, right? And who knows, after this again it will become positive in India's favor. So this is the beauty of the SEPA as far as the trade is concerned, right? So I just thought to give that flavor to all of you. And you see it is quite sustaining, little bit volatile, but it was in India's favor from 2014, 15, 16, and then it came down. Okay. Somebody mentioned about UAE corporate income tax. So this is again an area of growing interest. So there again the timing is important. See, as I mentioned, every 5 years, every 7 years, not only Gulf countries, but any countries is giving you an opportunity that you should be able to grab it. Be it into VAT, which happened in 2018, be it into the Corporate Income Tax Act, which was promulgated in June 2023. Okay, so taxable income is up to, I don't know why they kept this odd figure of 375, not 4, not 5, but this is the figure which they kept. Zero tax rate, qualify income of the free zone products. As I mentioned about the free zone which is there, when your total income exceeds 370, again the rate is 9%. So again it's I think it's more of a psychological advantage to the SSE that is not 10%. Some of you remember, when I was small, then we had this Bata products. So price of Bata products is always like 0.95, and so we feel it's 99.95 but not 100. Okay, so maybe I don't know why, but it's 9% they've kept. Top-up tax on multinational enterprise, the details are awaited. Again, one more tax is levied, which is 15%. Okay, and audit of books of accounts, again, as I mentioned, they all need compliance. Quite low level of threshold limit of dirham 50 million, which is actually nothing compared to the, you need to see in a totality. So compared to the size of the economy and compared to the size of the country, this limit is very, very low level in my view. So but that's where the opportunity comes for chartered accountants, right? And due date I mentioned over there. So other taxes, I have already mentioned no personal income tax in UAE. These are all small tax, and VAT implemented from 1st July 18, and I mean now it's matter of past now because we are in 25. So VAT it was one of the first countries after, as I mentioned, the treaty was signed between all these countries to implement the VAT. UAE and Saudi Arabia, Oman and Bahrain waited for few years, then they implemented. And as you know, Qatar and Kuwait, so far there is no VAT. Okay. So startup, a lot of now as I mentioned that I have presented this to many of the cities in India. In fact, I had this presentation, and I must thank actually, in 2021, Furia sir will be knowing, when Manish Gadiaji was the chairman. So we did this event, of course, in a little, concise manner, I would say, in a virtual platform about opportunities in UAEs, in Gulf countries. So, and now we are doing it on a physical way. So, a lot of people ask me that, what are the opportunities in the startup? In fact, last time when I went to southern India, they asked me that I am, involved mostly into the startups. Okay, so which country is best for me? That was the question. And why? Okay, so if you are only into the startup or majorly, I think UAE is one of the best countries from this region because of the very high ranking. First is the ease of doing business, which is I think 20 or 16th, so which is really a great sign. We are talking about other countries, below 70. Ease of doing business is a major factor for any startup, not only to thrive but even to survive, right? So it is one of the. Another good thing about UAE is, I am sure most of you would have traveled or have some kind of connection with UAE. See, everybody, whenever we achieve some level of income and tourism, immediately first thing comes to our mind is, let's go Dubai, right? Now I don't know, it's the marketed in that way because I have traveled to Dubai so many times, so they are also very clever in marketing. That first thing you think, even if you go to any travel agent, they will present you, only of Dubai normally. Okay, so why? Because of the very flexible visa rules. They love people, they love the consumer based economy. They want people to spend, that's very, very great sign about any. Talent ability is reasonably, talent is available, as I mentioned, is one of the burning issues. And globally competitive taxation. Okay, 5% taxation on VAT, which is there, 5% VAT is there, I mean, and no personal income tax that, then the corporate income. So tax, so it's not completely like open field where there is no taxation, because when there is no taxation also there are risks. So actually when we see that no taxation is a great sign, but if any country there is no taxation at all, it means there is no clarity then that when the tax will come. Okay, so having some sort of tax, actually it's it shows the strength and I would say the maturity of the any economy. Okay, if I put in that way. So that's why here the tax rate is globally competitive. Only thing in UAE is there, because I am not here to promote any country, I don't have any interest. Only thing is I have to highlight the correct fact is that market is really tight in UAE. If you are into employment, okay, salary level are not that great for chartered accountants, especially when you are a fresh chartered accountant. So a lot of people actually ask me that how about the salaries into UAE and all. Okay, so it varies drastically. You have to start from the scratch, where it is really low. I would not say too low, but it is not that big also, as sometimes you are promised or as the dreams are sold to you. But then when you get the experience, it goes higher. So that is there. Okay, talking about UAE especially, it is covered in the slide, but I must tell you, lot of people and lot of chartered accountants make their mistake is to go to UAE and then find a job. So somebody is selling the dreams to them, I believe, or somebody is not mentoring them properly. They say, okay, you take some long leave, or if you are not happy, resign from your employment, come to UAE, come, I am there to support you. See, nobody will support you in the job beyond some extent. Like nobody can support you, for example, in passing the CA exam. It's we have to put some efforts. Similarly, in job also, the problem is that in that case you will lose the good job in India and the family security. You settle there and you will have very limited time to find a job because of your visa validity. So you will have 3 months time, and no organization can give you that. If you tell them that I am a chartered or anything, but I have only 3 months to find a job, immediately they will realize that you will bargain on the lower salary, right, when you impose because timing is very important. So don't make that mistake. Just I am discussing about the UAE. So I'm telling you, a lot of people are coming, especially the younger generation, including semi-qualified and qualified, say they're coming to UAE. They feel that it's a tax-free income and I will be able to find a job, but it's not happening in majority of the cases. Okay, and then when they have to leave the country, they had lost the job of India also, and there is a big vacuum in their CV. So it's very important to understand it, right? I think you will appreciate this, right? Being in UAE, you would have seen many employees, people are queuing up literally, because it's very easy to go to UAE. As you know, you don't require big investment to go to UAE, unlike US or UK. Okay, so it's very easy to go there and be with somebody who is your friend, or and then you do the job hunting and all. Okay, so type of services, as I mentioned, VAT consultancy, but I must mention VAT consultancy, the market is really overcrowded. So when you want to aspire into it and the market is overcrowded, what you need to have is the higher payback period. If you establish the operation over there, you need to have a lot more patience or little bit more of a capital, so that you can withstand the competition which has emerged into the UAE because of this. Internal audit, external audit, forensic audit is one of the areas which is emerging nowadays. I would call it a sunrise domain. So those who are into forensic audit, the scope of forensic audit, in short, okay, it's only going to be increased only. Another is area of the cyber security, because AI is evolving. Lot of digital transformation is happening across the world. It is also posing the requirement of need to have a very robust cyber security, right? That's why it's very important to have the strong tech savvy background or experience within our CV. M&A and feasibility study. M&A is closely aligned to the valuation which I mentioned over there. Company formation, especially in UAE, there are a lot of virtual CFO service, fractional CFO service which are emerging, I have seen, and of course you have the corporate tax. So the scope of these services, especially in UAE, are quite wide, right? One thing which you have to understand is that about the outsourcing assignment, which is actually this covered in some of the other slides. But thing is that there is a paradigm shift as far as the nature of these outsourcing assignments are concerned. So because again many of the CAs are not doing that kind of enough research, so that's why I'm mentioning. Earlier the nature of this assignment was only limited to accounting and auditing, especially accounting, while it still remains. More and more organizations are outsourcing their job in Power BI, in Tableau, in digital transformation, in installation of the right software. So that's where CAs have the greater opportunity, and that will happen at every decade probably, or every 5 or 7 years, while outsourcing will remain. In one of the slides I mentioned that outsourcing is likely to grow at a 10% CAGR, which is a great sign. Those who are into outsourcing business and have some expertise, they need not to worry as such, because India has maintained its position as a outsourcing market. And of course the evolvement of GCC is concerned again, which is again, so that will only further spur the requirement of outsourcing. But the nature of outsourcing, the landscape of these assignments are always going to change. It will always remain the dynamic, right? So that's why I thought to mention over there. Saudi Arabia, again, one of the bigger countries. Now it is again in a lot of limelight because of the sweeping reforms which country is trying to do it. Okay, but I personally believe that it will take some time to have the impact of reforms on the ground. Okay, they realize the importance, which is a great sign, especially on the participation of the women and having gender parity in all its operation, where women are little bit given more freedom all the fronts. But these are the cultural changes, the mindset changes. These are not like GDP changes where figure changes immediately every year and it can be certified. So so in my view it will take some time to see the impact on but yes, the reforms and the mindset is encouraging, right? So it's very important. Here the economic overview I present, a big country in its all sense, which you can see from the in fact the area of Saudi Arabia, it's as big as India. Those who are into little bit have some interest in geography, if you want to grow from eastern province to western province, it will take, I think, 12, 15 hours. There are flights from eastern province, which is Al Khobar, to Jeddah, which is on the Red Sea port and all. So in between there is desert. So taxation there, corporate income tax there is 20%. So again, not only the rates of VAT are changed in all these countries, even the rate of CIT are also changed, and some countries does not have. There is a zakat of 2.5%. Requirement of social insurance and contribution is there. It's 21%, very high. It's more or less just like PF, what we have in India. And weight rate I mentioned, it was 5%, but maybe they realized the impact of COVID to their economy, so immediately increased to the 15%, right? Startup ecosystem, it's good. They want to, they are going into that area. Still the result is yet to be materialized, I may say so. But the ICT is very high as 97%, which is higher than all this country, because more or less the countries are not having that much population, so it's easy to have internet access and all. Venture capital funding is a great sign where it is increased, yeah. But still for the startup, the UAE is the thriving market, I must mention over there. A big countries as far as the exports are concerned, or the trade ties between India and Saudi Arabia is concerned, where it is, you see the increase into the bilateral trade, great amount of increase is happening. It was just 34 billion in 18 and 19. It has rose to 53 billion in 2023. And great thing is that, as I mentioned, the investment of this sovereign wealth fund from Saudi Arabia in all these countries is there. But there are a lot of other companies also from India, like L&T. TCS is a big company which is providing the technological support, and we as Indians are very proud of the fact that it's Indian companies, especially TCS, okay, which is greatly providing the technological support, software related support, or these operations to many of the big companies into Saudi Arabia and whole region, right? What are the key facts? 17th largest and one of the fastest growing economies in the world. We must mention that apart from India, it is also one of the fastest growing economies, of course after the India, but still. And key oil producers, so again the countries which is highly depending on the oil and gas, not only gas but especially oil. So that all of you know, Qatar is the country which is depending on the oil. There is no oil in Dubai. The entire oil in UAE is there into the Abu Dhabi, ADNOC, and these are the companies which are aware of this. And like in all the middle sector, the pre-pandemic level is achieved in almost all these countries on all economic parameters. They are trying to diversify the revenue, but it's not happening. Again, I must be very honest, unlike UAE and unlike the Oman to some extent, yeah. But good sign is that the young population and rising inclusion of the women workforce into the economy. I mentioned about this section 23FE, which is granting the exemption to the income of the sovereign wealth fund for on their income which is arising from India. Okay, now why we are interested as chartered accountants, that to claim the exemption there are requirement to the audit of books of accounts. Okay, so that's where the opportunity is there. Of course, like in every section of IT Act, there are always the notification by CBDT. So again, this CBDT is notified with that which are the sovereign wealth fund which can claim the exemption. Recently, the period to claim the exemption has been extended from March 25 to March 2030. So this is where the government wants to encourage actually the inbound investment into India, and more and more sovereign wealth fund, pension fund of all the countries, not only GCC, but from all, especially from the European countries, as far as the pension funds are concerned, they are investing into India. They are investing into startups which are operating in India and enjoying the fruits of the India success story, if we say so. Oman, as I mentioned, this is the thing, very strong tourism potential. Yes, sir. Huh? Opportunities for us in Saudi. So, this is what I mentioned there. And common thing is there, you are required to obtain the license, audit license. So there is an authority, if I remember the acronym correctly, SOCPA, which is Saudi CPS or some kind of there, you can Google it, okay? They are authorized to give you the audit license. Basically all these countries, they want to limit the license, okay? But good opportunity is there in Saudi, I would say, because the reforms are taking place, because the economy itself is growing, okay? And see, again, the market is not overcrowded, right? And one more thing is that very huge size of the economy, okay? So now, for example, in Qatar we have 500 chartered accountants. Now tomorrow if we have, I mean, in a very sudden span of time, if we have 3,000 chartered accountant, there will be great problem, because country itself is 30 lakhs. See, so the growth will be definitely secured. So to accommodate more and one professionals, you need not to have only the like successful economy, diversified economy, but you also need to have the big economy, like India, like Saudi Arabia, like probably Singapore, like UK and some other countries, okay, or any other bigger countries. So in that way, there are enough opportunities. But see, there are a lot of resistances there in people's mind to, especially those who are into employment, to relocate to there or all this kind of thing. Okay, so people are telling that there are a lot of reforms which are taking place. For example, as I mentioned to in the here. But the impact of these reforms is yet to be seen. Yes, certain restriction they've removed it, like restrictions on the driving license on women, for example, it is removed. Okay, and there are others also which is removed. But still, you may not have that kind of freedom to practice or to do whatever you want. So but it's highly subjective issue. Okay, for somebody, I mean, having freedom to be the way we want is highly subjective. Okay, so that's, you understand what I'm telling. It's not easy to, it's a very quite a person specific. Okay, but yes, because of this thing, and because I would say because of the size of the economy, and also the reforms which is taking place, lot investments which is happening. Okay, very dynamic leadership with there, which is also very, very important. Why people are looking up to the leaders of India currently. I'm not politicizing or promoting, but that's the fact, because of the quality and metal into the leadership. So that is also there into the leader of Saudi Arabia. So yeah. See, anywhere, friend, what's your name? Ritesh. See here, Ritesh, anywhere we must accept one fact, that all this, everywhere, market is dominated by big four. Okay, so it means that you need to have some sort of little longer payback period if you want to, so don't, my suggestion to you, I'm not telling advice, but broad suggestion, don't invest a bigger amount compared to your size into this particular countries in an immediate manner. You can always opt to do it in a phased manner. Okay, and have very clear expansion model, which was I think that was the burning issue. Okay, so have that clarity that how you want to do it, and then you can think of expanding into Saudi Arabia in that matter. Okay, but the good thing is that about the size of the economy, which is very, very important. Okay, and another thing is that they are diversifying in a slow pace, but a lot of investment is taking place into the Saudi Arabia also. So I think on all these parameters you can, it's not very, probably you need to do PhD on that, on lighter note, but not PhD, but you need to do some amount of research into it, not only from the external factors, but also on your own internal factors also, that what is your capacity, what is your competencies, I would always say, and how you can present to yourself. I was always, a lot of people ask me that why it's happening that big four or big C's or big 10, for example, okay, are getting assignments or contracts, despite they charge 10 times the fee which I am charging. Okay, that's a fact. The reason is also that, of course, it's a very vexed issue, but reason is also that look at the quality of deliverables which we are presenting, quality of reports which we are right from when you quote certain amount till your regular report. So look at the quality, okay, of little. I'm not comparing with Big Four or some, but at least little bigger and well structured firm to quality of report from the normal SMP. Let me put in that way. Yes. I mean, yeah, it is, of course, one of the main, as I mentioned, sir, it's very vexed issues. Yeah, it gives, there is no doubt. No, this is correct. See, there is there is one thing is that, of course, the branding and the existence since 50 years, 100 years into all these things also, which is also the factor, as you mentioned, who is signing and all these things. But this is why I mentioned about this. We always look to improve where we are lacking. Okay, we cannot control the external factors, but we can always control and improvise upon the internal factors which is in our hand. Absolutely, it's altogether different dynamics. Yes. Yes. No. See, as such, I mean, see, I always believe, what's your name? I always believe that the world is an ocean. Okay, there is enough for size of every fish into the word. So sometimes it's very candid conversation. I don't mind in doing it. This very elite crowd, and it's actually very thought-provoking question which you ask. See, sometime somewhere we feel the insecurity within us as chartered accountants. Okay, we need not to feel it. Only thing which is in our hand, which will cover somewhere in my slides, okay, is to have constant evolvement and appetite of upskilling ourselves. You are very senior chartered accountant, I can make it out. Sir, see, only up to the 5 and 7 years, you can really say that I am the chartered accountant. Yes, afterwards also you can always say, we all will remain chartered accountant till we are on this planet. But what is the first thing which will be shift? What are the value you are creating for your clients? After 5, 7 years, 10 years, okay. What is your experience? What you have done greatly for your client? And this is especially true even for the people who are into employment, right? So the only thing what we can do to beat the competition and thrive, not only within outside the fraternity, but even amongst us, is the only thing what we can do is to think differently, to constantly create value for the clients. Okay. I was always mentioning now, since you asked me, not if I'm naming somebody, it does not mean now others I'm not naming, but you see somebody like this you can consider my tribute to somebody like T.N. Manoharan sir. Okay, why amongst the chartered accountants also he stood out? Okay, it's not only because of being a chartered accountant, okay, or the leader. It's also because of the personality which he carried, the kind of societal value, the impact on the society, which he created, the kind of I would say, what is the use of qualification if you are not able to serve the people who is standing on the last in the queue? And probably that's what somebody like Manoharan sir had done. And that's why he is not only, accepted, but revered and respected. So that's just my view. So somewhere we need to do that also if we want to. And this is my personal philosophy. In fact, I'm very happy to tell you, or humbled to tell you, that I carried out one financial literacy program. So I'm in Qatar. So as you know, it's a desert country, right? Registan hai wo, in short. Okay, so we have the shepherds there from Rajasthan mostly, which is also Registan here. So they were relocated there and taking care of the camels and ships there away from the main city. So me and my team, when I was a chairman, we went there and we carried out the financial literacy program for them in the language in which they understood. Okay, so that's how and it's very simple for them. It's not about taxation and all these things. It's about that you don't, let's say, borrow your money, use the banking channel only, don't fall into the Ponzi schemes and all. This is the one way to give back to the society. So I encourage all of you somewhere, to, give the benefit of, let's give the benefit of our coveted qualification also to the souls who are less fortunate than us. And believe me, they told that, that not only nobody has given us this kind of knowledge, but nobody even cared to come to meet us. So that's the sense of gratification we get, apart from the fees which we receive from clients and salaries and all, right? So anyway, about Oman, so I think I'll finish within 10 minutes or so, can then open for questions or so. Normal facts are there, but having very strong tourism potential. If you see in Oman, somewhere it is in the planet, it is lying on the line of Kerala. So in some parts of the year, the weather is quite contrary to some of the Middle East countries. Especially you will remember about Salalah. Okay, so it is one of the regions in Oman where actually in other part of the region the temperature is 50 degree, but in Salalah it's raining, like India, Mumbai and southern part during this month. So due to that, it is having the great amount of tourism potential is also there. So it is one of the countries apart from UAE with strong tourism potential and where diversification. Only problem with Oman is that, and with few other countries, is the localization. So as I mentioned, every countries now started taking interest or giving priority to their own citizens and then to rest of the countries. In Oman, because the population itself is little bit of poor or downtrodden or not so filthy rich like Qatar and Dubai, they started to give prominence to them so as to avoid any kind of unrest. Yeah, so that's a challenge for the non-Omanis and Indians like us, because they are being given the preference. There are in fact now quotas are there, preference is given. Okay, Oman taxation system, it will be probably to the disadvantage to those who are located into Gulf, maybe the first country in the Gulf which will levy the personal income tax. Okay, so like I am saying that again, it signifies that every 5 years the opportunity keeps on coming. It came in 2019 in UAE VAT, it came in 2023 and still now in UAE corporate income tax rate. It may come again in 2028 when the personal income tax rate which will be levied in Oman only. But then again, when one country starts, other countries sense the opportunity to raise the revenue. So 5% rate is as of now, they have thought of it, effective this date. But again, it's as of now for little bit of high income range people, right? More than USD 109,000. Bahrain is a small country, so VAT rate is 10% and there is no corporate income tax. Again, this is one of the countries where the VAT came at a later point of time. This is the economic overview. Again, very small country, and that's why the GDP is also quite small. It used to be the offshore banking hub for the countries into the rest part of the world. So having very, very advanced banking and financial system is there, okay, in Bahrain. Having first and largest fintech hub, which is Bahrain Fintech Bay. Those who are interested can do little bit research about it. FinHub 973. So 973 basically is the country code. So based on that, they established to sound it more catchy, which is FinHub 973. Kuwait, again one of the countries where there are a lot of importance being given to the private players, but good side of is that very conducive political environment is there, because within GCC also, as I mentioned, a lot of disputes are happening, as we have seen in recent years between the countries also. This is one of the countries which is having great relationship with all the neighbors and other countries also. No VAT so far in Kuwait also, which I mentioned over there. But corporate income tax is there, 15%, but no value added tax and no personal income. So more or less it is relatively same like Qatar, in terms of even the culture and way of living also. Only thing, Qatar is highly dependent on the gas, whereas Kuwait is dependent on the oil. But both the countries are not having that great kind of weather which you will enjoy. Both the countries are more or less where locals are very, very rich, and in both the countries no personal income tax, no value added tax so far. Overseas, this is some of the things I'm just rushing, not because of the time, but some of the things I've already covered in my previous slides as and when opportunity arose. So BPO is projected to grow by this %, and as I mentioned, there is a shift in the, which is very important for us to understand, that every 5 years, 7 years, always the dynamics of this BPO outsourcing assignment will change. Very, very important for us to understand is the cultural differences when you are dealing with any foreign clients. Okay, so doing namaste is just a way to offer our welcome or hello in our country. In some of the countries, when you shake your hands, it means that you are lower than them. Okay, you are subservient to them. So you know, you would understand this kind of cultural differences, which is very important. You know, shake hands is quite common in our country, not so common in some of the countries. Okay, so these are all quite subjective issues. You have to understand when you do any in-person or any kind of interaction. Invest in technology and talent. Very important is to, always important to do the proper due diligence and reference check. Okay, before you do business with any of the entity in all these countries. You know, I have been receiving lot of inquiries about, you know, when they have some kind of dealing or some kind of trade relationship with any entity located in this country, they don't know whether it can be as simple as that whether it is safe to pay advance payment to that country or not. Okay, so do proper due diligence and reference check, then only you advise your client to do it or not, or else better to stay away and not to advise rather than ill advising someone. That's what I always believe. And as I mentioned about the comprehensive proposal and maintain the quality of deliverables, I think we discussed it in a great details about this. Okay, so this is all I have covered into it. One thing is that, especially in outsourcing, understand the cost dynamics always. The rate which you can offer to someone who is in USA or Singapore or UK may not be the same when you offer the same to the Dubai, but that is closely aligned with the competition landscape. Now those who are into employment, few slides for them also in last 5-7 minutes. Sir, okay, 5 minutes, I think I'm thank you. So you know, there are no, contrary to what the major belief what we have, that किसी का reference लगा दो और किसी को बोलो आपका CV forward करे, and then see, normally such thing doesn't work. Okay, and I firmly believe, see, I'm very proud of the fact, in my case, I'm sure it's for all, you know, I have not, you know, sought for any references to or sought any kind of favor or that kind of thing to secure my job. It's purely based on the merit, and it's for all the chartered accountants. Okay, we need not to find the shortcuts or, you know, kind of below the table kind of means to secure job. Always go in a professional way. We all are well placed there. You can consult the very reputed employment consultant and the headhunters. Okay, headhunters means, anybody is aware, headhunters means those who are HR consultant, but for us very senior level people, not a typical. So there are a lot of headhunters are there, especially in Mumbai. So you know, approach them, and these are the website is there. You know, in ICI chapters, in our chapter, I know we do it, we call it Sahayata service or e-Sahayata, where we, those who want to relocate to that particular country, we forward his or her CV to all the members of our country with their consent, and then suitable opportunities can be. So you know, this has shown a very encouraging sign, because we members normally trust each other. So when the CV comes, if whether my CV is forwarded through the chapter to another chartered accountant, okay, it gives some sort of trust factor. So every year in that way, nearly 50 plus 70 plus chartered accountants are getting the employment. So that's what we do. We were doing earlier only for the CS who were located in Qatar, but then we started doing it for CS in India also, and we opened up then for semi-qualified professionals also. So, but this all the countries are doing. Recently we have the career e-kit, what we call. So it's like a Bible or Gita or Quran for those who want to relocate to that country. So you know, all the overseas chapters are giving that kind of support to CAs before relocating also. So it is having all the guidelines. that okay, what is the social norm, cultural norm, business norm, all this business. I have not copied this from that. I'm just telling you, but it is having all these things which one should know. Okay. These are the skills required, quite common. But one thing I will highlight only. I will discuss one thing is about the cost of living, because cost of living quite varies from all this country to country. Okay, so there is no I've been receiving many inquiries that I've been offered salary of 8,000 real. Okay, in this, should I accept or not? Now I cannot answer it. Okay, it depends on your own cost of living, whether you are with family or you are single, you are planning to relocate with family or you will just stay single, and all these things. Okay, Qatar and Dubai normally are amongst the costly country compared to other countries. Okay, so of course when the country is costly, the salary levels are also high, but then your saving potential will remain same, because in somewhere maybe your salary is less, but then your cost of living is also less, right? So this is a very, very important issue. So before you accept the job, please understand the cost of living in all this country. Don't land yourselves up into the situation where you accept the job which is of lower salary and then you repent till you are into the country, because it's very easy to analyze the cost of living in India, but for realizing it outside India you need some kind of research or support. That's why I'm mentioning it. Okay, sunrise domains I mentioned. Valuation is data science. These are all sunrise domains, means upcoming areas globally, not only limited to GCC. These are all the areas are there. This is my own acronym is there, networking. So many people, and especially young chartered account, all these ask me that what are the requirements. So you need to have very strong networking skills, not in particular order. You need to have education, means upskilling and reskilling is there. Soft skills, the presentation skills, the ability to deliver, to speak is very, very important, to present ourselves before the clients or the organization, in fact. And of course we cannot even survive, let alone thrive, without having the very strong technological skills. So it's in no particular order. It does not mean that you need networking more than technology. It's just that it's easy to remember. I have mentioned all these things. Okay, so I was also speaker in as I mentioned about the professional skills enrichment committee, and some of these 2-3 slides are really appreciated by members, and I got feedback. So I'm just mentioning. A lot of people are asking me that you mentioned about the networking, but people have that doubt that where to do networking. Okay, so these are some of the avenue. If you are into employment, serve on the special purpose committee or cross function. So if you are into finance, impart your knowledge to procurement people, marketing, and learn from them. This is a special purpose cross functional task force. Represent your organization. So there was one event organized by Amazon in my country, Qatar. So there were all the attendees were from FMCG sectors. Okay, they invited. So it is a sector specific events, and Mumbai is a great place, of course, and everybody is envious of the kind of avenues, networking avenues which Mumbai is providing in particular. Okay, but it's our duty to leverage it and take the maximum advantage for us. So sector specific, and then for organization always the family meetup. So when families are so networking actually can happen anywhere. Okay, even within the friends it can happen, but when you have family bonds, it's increasing. How about the profession? Okay, so networking in profession, these are the avenues. Attend events or conference of professional organization of WRC. Always please attend it regularly. Chairman sir has already mentioned it. So okay, so support the tireless efforts of entire team. ICI central committees event, regional council event, branches and chapters. So this is a great platform to network like all of you are doing now. Collaborate and apart from events, there are a lot of initiatives. Chairman sir has already mentioned at ICI level also a lot of initiatives are there where probably you can collaborate, you can contribute, and in the process you yourself evolve and learn more, which is also important. Okay, here in India you have a lot of such like tax practitioners associations or the CA association apart from branches and all. Also I have seen many chartered accountants contributing there or participating there. Industry specific body, okay, it's like Gujarat Chamber of Commerce, or this is also one. So various avenues, you know. So do networking, I mean, outside the CA fraternity also, and that's where probably the real and more opportunity lies. Okay, that's why, and a lot of members have appreciated it, and it's from my own experience. That's why I thought to mention it to you. It's little out of the topic. Okay, I mentioned already about the financial literacy which we did within the community. How you can do it? Any social club, Toastmasters club is there. I am a member of it, office bearer of it. So also one of the areas where you can nurture the hobbies or public speaking skills. Give the benefit of your knowledge to the person who are non-chartered accountants also, who are probably not so fortunate as us also, right? Storytelling is one of the most demanding skill. You can just research about it. I wrote article on this topic and why it is one of the most sought after skills of 21st. Storytelling is not the one which is our grandmother is telling us, but in finance it is having a quite different meaning. It means basically to sell your ideas, share your knowledge, and convince the other stakeholders who are from non-financial background. So that's what the storytelling skill is all about, right? Because this year I happen to be the special invitee to the International Affairs Committee also. It's my duty to mention this also. There are, like you have nearly 178 branches in India. We have 54 overseas chapters outside India also. 14 chapters are there in USA. These are key jurisdictions, 4 in UAE, 4 in Australia we have, 2 in Canada, 3 in Saudi Arabia. So truly a world's largest accounting body ICI is, right? What we do is mostly, apart from what normal branch is doing, ICI overseas chapter is regarded as the ICI embassy into the key jurisdiction, right? So this is our hobby. Just a summary, what we discuss. So I realize summary is as important as agenda in any presentation. So I thought to include, we discussed the economic landscape, business scenario, taxation regime, startup ecosystem we touched upon. What are the nuances of outsourcing opportunity? We also seen sunrise domain, skill set requirements, and again last thing is that what is the overseas journey of ICI. Virag bhai, so we end the dinner with dessert on a sweet note. So let's end on a humorous note on this particular thing. Do you agree with this? Is philosophy or not? Huh? So you feel there is no need to be creative? Need to be creative. So he is a accountant. Maybe is tired of the work or headache given by the clients. He is thinking that why I have to be creative? I am an accountant or a CA. I am not artist or novelist. Okay, but friend, we need to be creative, like he mentioned. Hello. Because creativity will lead to the kind of innovation, and it's the innovation which leads to the invention. That's the cycle of creativity. That's how you think out of the box. So just some feedback. This is my mobile number, and my LinkedIn is there. My email ID is there. Always accessible for our professional. But I always say to wherever I go that don't worry, you have a brother in Doha. So I truly mean it. So always available on for any professional purpose or any guidance, and I'm always accessible on WhatsApp, and normally I replied promptly. So available for Chairman sir, if time permits, any couple of feedback. Yeah. So thank you for all very active and I would say very focused attention, question and interaction. So any question, any perspective, anything? Yes, please.
So guys, don't go away. We are going to have one, draw. The sponsors have got some prizes, and I'll request people to put their card in the bowl. That Rupesh, if you can circulate this bowl, and there are couple of prizes which sponsors wanted to give. If you all have put, don't put it again. Those who have not put can put it. So we can take up the questions until then. Those who want to put your card, please put, and there'll be a two lucky draw, I suppose. And meanwhile, we can take up the question. Nirlep, though I was on the 8th floor, but I was listening you all throughout.
Oh, I'm grateful, sir.
All throughout on the Zoom, and really enjoyed this session. Before I request Jayan Bhai to propose a vote of thanks, let us take up few questions.
I think somebody has,
yeah. We can take up the questions. I think that is the entire purpose. If people, please ask your question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nirlep, sir, for this opportunity to.
I think we can close this. It's not. Yeah. Please tell me.
If anybody don't have a card, they can write name and number on the paper and then put it.
Yes. Please tell me your question.
Thank you, sir, for this explanations and all the discussions that you have done. So, sir, my question, it's personally for me. I want to expand to GCC. So, need your advice. Is relocation your suggestion, or can we do business by traveling frequently and keeping our base in India?
See, I think, see, again, this is a very subjective question. Okay. It all depends. Like, we chartered accountants, for us, the standard answer of it depends. That's the standard answer. But let me elaborate on this. Okay. See, first it depends on your risk appetite, if I tell it correctly. It varies from person to person. Okay. And I'm not the judge to tell you what should be your risk. It can be different for each one of us. So it's individual call. Okay. But having said that, I have seen most of the chartered accountants, first let's test the water. Experience what you gain will only evolve you further. Correct? So it can be even good or otherwise. Okay, we always learn from the experiences, good or otherwise, always. Okay, so it's good. First, you travel yourself. Keep at least in my view, because here also many people are. So I'm thankful to you for this question. The kind of questions we saw here, Chairman Sir, were really insightful. But that shows the quality of the CS of Mumbai. Okay. See, first thing is that many CS come over there and then they call me or anybody that I'm here for 4 days. Now, can you help me meet the, suitable person? That's kind of time they have, and that's the agenda they have. You can understand what I'm meaning. Okay. So it means they don't have any agenda, unfortunately. They just travel, so they don't have any preparation, in short. Okay. At least you travel for 2 weeks. So that will give you sufficient time. That is first. Don't just come for 4 days. If you come for 5 days, there 2 days are weekends and nobody does anything on weekend. That is first thing. Travel for 2 weeks. Plan your travel in advance. Okay, whoever is your focal point there, inform them in advance that this is my purpose of travel. You come over there, I'll meet. And then you prepare the agenda. What's your purpose? To whom you like to meet? Probably, if possible, seek the time in advance. So this kind of preparation, if you do then your own return on investment, the cost you are spending for travel, will see some result. So I tell frankly to the people. Now, one of my friends came over there, in the month of July and August, where most of these countries have vacation. So most of the countries, so when you want to meet, let's say me, I myself will traveling. So, where the meeting is possible. So please be mindful of the fact, but I think, first you travel yourself first. It's you who has to take the lead, not someone to start with within your firm.
Because my question was related because it's a recurring cost for any incorporation in GCC, because annually we'll have to pay the registration charges or the license cost.
Yeah, of course. But it's not very big amount. See, cost to set up the business may be little high, but then to cost to renew the documents and registration, it's not any very high. So initial cost is little high. Again, it's relative, So what
maybe in free zone it is comparative, means minimum is what I understand is 7,000 types.
Yeah, correct.
Approximately.
Free zone are always, it's normally like who understands better than chartered accountants. Okay, what they are telling, they are kind of ensuring higher capital in advance, then giving you lots of benefits which I mentioned over there. Right. You have 100% repatriation of profit, you have 100% ownership, 20 years tax holiday. Okay, So to enjoy this, you need to infuse higher capital, no? I mean, that's but natural. So we cannot complain about it, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for. Yes.
Sir, my question is specifically for Oman.
Ek minute. Can you tell that Vaibhav to give my mobile? Just, I don't know where is. Just okay, tell me this. It's there only now, so because it was off since 2.5 hours. So yeah.
So my question is specifically for Oman. I am looking at building a practice in Oman specifically, and I'm given to understand on my basic research that we need a local partner there.
Yes.
And for local partner, I tried searching on LinkedIn and through various other ways I could find, but I could not find CA firms per se specifically. Could you guide me on how I could go about finding people to meet and check how I can get local
See,
partners?
Oman, I mean, the dynamics of these countries are quite different. So Oman, the advantage is that, Indians have relocated, especially from the Kutch region, and a lot of you will be aware, since many centuries, okay, in Oman. So there are big business houses, which is owned by people from Western India, it's there, So again, the Indian firms are very, very quite respected and quite well settled over there. Okay, so you cannot probably find on the Google or somewhere, but you have to search on LinkedIn. My suggestion to you is that we have very vibrant Muscat chapter of ICI, okay,
yes,
who is also as good as Oman, there's Bahrain and Qatar. Approach the MC member over there, okay, or if you know anybody, approach, or offline I can guide you and I can connect you with the chairman or somebody, that there is a purpose, and then you take it up with him.
That would
So
be
I
very
don't
helpful,
have,
sir.
so then I will not have any other.
So this is enough lead, sir. If I can connect with somebody
Mm.
and just on the broader crowd, I'm just
But-
leaving the
But
thought.
if you see, but how far they will help and guide is all up to them.
That
So
is
I'm
okay.
making a disclaimer,
Obviously,
because I
sir.
always believe to support or help others, you need both ability and willingness.
Yes.
If either of them is missing, that is one. But for local partners, some of the CS can guide you, but for local partners, you need to approach some of the agencies which are there. Okay, like in Qatar and UAE, there are agencies and better to go with them also. So take a
Okay.
couple of views and then go. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. If anybody in the crowd wants to explore Oman, I'm happy to meet you with them. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh wow. I'm humbled. Yes.
Can you tell me that you mentioned Oman and many other chapters, their annual conferences when they are happening? Because many want to explore that, but we are not aware that when they are happening.
See, I think better for annual conferences. See, first thing is that all these chapters in GCC and every other chapter have a very vibrant website. An annual conference is one of the flagship events, of course, for any chapters. Okay, so they will publish as there. Normally, the annual conference of all these countries are happening between October to December, because of course the weather will be good and people will be there. Okay, so when the temperature will be again weather is very important. It will be 30-35 degrees and not more. Doha is organizing annual conference this year on 16th and 17th October. So our conference we have fixed normally, because it does not clashes with other chapters. It does not clashes with ICI and regional councils major events. So normally it's always between October to December. You are most welcome, and your spouse has been a speaker.
Any other
and
questions? Yeah, with this, may I invite Jain Bhai to propose a vote of thanks, and Smita Madam to come over the dais and, take out
Thank you for
the lucky draw, and then maybe announce the winner.